Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananji commences tonight's satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with mystic song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda and Rajneesh.
Our song tonight is called Prayer to Devi. We're recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananji in Miami, Florida. Today is July the 13th, 2018, Friday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Ramayana. This is series 2016, class number 112. And now, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananji.
Om Nilambujasyam Komalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panavuma Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Allusions to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. All that is a mystical, allegorical description of the divine self. In Sri Ramcharitmanas, Balakanda, you are moving towards the Doha number 285. The context at this stage is Sage Parashuram confronted Lakshmana and Rama, and the whole confrontation is presented here in a very heroic way, vigorous confrontation. But behind the confrontation, it is an act of trial. Is Rama who broke the bow? Who is that Rama? And Parshuram brought out Rama's glory through the way he presented himself. In a very simple way to understand, if you are preparing for a certain grade in education, the teacher, professor presents to you oral and practical tests. No matter how much he might have loved you, but at the time of test, it's totally a different disposition. So Parashuram presented a lot of oral tests, with Lakshmana and Rama, and finally a practical test. He gave Narayanastra to Rama. Can we stretch it? And it simply stretched itself by magic. In other words, to the view of the masses, Rama passed the test in an amazing way. So Parashuram acted for glorification of Rama. This point people don't understand easily. And for those who are studying more profoundly, Parashuram stage of sadhana is building up all your strengths to subdue the forces of darkness, subdue malas, gross impurities. First stage of subduing mala is through Malyavan movement, wrestling match. You do it with great effort. And that effort should be persistent. So Parashuram goes on destroying those Rajasic Kshatriyas. He destroys them, the earth seems to be relaxed for a while, but another set of Kshatriyas arise. He went on doing that for 21 or more times, until Rama came in the scene. Parashurama movement means your effort must go on day by day to curb, to control your anger and dump it. For a week or so, you have no problem. You shave the hair, no problem. But in a week or so, it will emerge. So you have to shave it again. And that aspect must continue in sadhana. And while you are doing that, another aspect, you come to a higher level where all this begins to happen without your knowing it. You want to be angry, you can't be angry. Because the heart is full of love. You want to be egoistic, but you can't be egoistic. Because you know it, ego can't do anything. Poor. So that a stage, Rama's stage has come. Parashurama's stage has been transcended. Whenever we say we transcended, doesn't mean that it moves away completely. It is there. In sadhana, you have to continue, but understand the two stages. Now, in the culmination of that confrontation, Parashuram bows down to Rama, offers prayers, glorifying the divinity of Rama. Karau kaha mukha ek prasansa, jay mahesh man manas hansa, anuchit bahut kaheu ajnata, chamahu chama mandir do brata. How can I praise you, O Rama? I have only one mouth. You are like a swan in the Manasa lake, the mental lake of Lord Shiva. The lake is beautiful because the swan goes on dancing around. And the very mind of Shiva, Shiva is Saguna Brahman at the highest. In this context, Shiva's role is Saguna Brahman. Same Brahman defined through Maya. And that Saguna Brahman is the God that you can first approach in order to go into higher level. But that Saguna Brahman Shiva leads you to Rama. So describing in an allegorical way, Saguna Brahman is a devotee of Rama. And to give you a little more, the statement, I have only one mouth, what does it imply? The world has trillions and trillions of mouths. And look at anywhere, everything is telling the glory of God. Even in this ashram, see how many mouths are there? Each one is speaking of the glory of God. None of them is describing the glory of a scientist. I'm underestimating. How magic operates through every little grass, every little bud, every little flower. And if you are very mature, manifests through every little atom, every little molecule. घट घट में है साईं रमता. घट घट is lesser. कण कण में है साईं रमता. In every particle there is divine self. And every particle is speaking of the glory of God because its role is beyond your imagination. So, how can one mouth describe everything? Unknowingly, I have uttered many improper words, but both of you, Rama and Lakshmana, you are the abode of Kshama, forgiveness, Kshama Mandir, temple of forgiveness. And therefore, forgive me. Try to understand the word Kshama is very important in Hindu culture. And what does that mean? Ksha relates to Aksha, the eyes. Sanskrit word Aksha, abbreviated Ksha. Ma, easy to understand. Whenever you're in difficulty, ma. Ma relates to Amrit, nectar, the source of all joy and comfort. So the eyes that looks at people with that motherly love. So when you develop that attitude, you are the abode of Kshama. So no one has to be afraid of you. Hold fear, I have done something wrong. What this person is going to do to me? No. Don't let anyone develop that type of relationship with you. Relationship based on fear. Vast majority of people, that's a different story. You see. Everywhere people in their success and their power, ego becomes dominating. And even when they have excused a person, it's written down in the notes how many mistakes have been forgiven. But when there is a loving feeling, when you are bringing up a baby, even the idea of finding mistake is insulting to your mind. Just try to figure that out. That's called Kshama. To be a devotee of God, your heart must develop that Kshama, the virtue of Kshama. And when you are developing it, don't develop ego about it. I have become so forgiving. Because it is that Kshama is arising out of your own soul, Rama within you. You as ego, you are not the abode of that Kshama, Rama within. So in the practice of Kshama, you are allowing ego to be effaced, purified, and humility to develop. The joy of Kshama cannot be described. That's Mahabharata carries on this topic of how Yudhishthira was the embodiment of that virtue of Kshama, the highlight of Dharma. Pursuing the path of Dharma, Kshama is one of the most important indication that your movement in Dharma is perfect. And Kshama is another aspect of Ahimsa. So Kshama mandir do bhrata. Do bhrata, Rama and Lakshmana. Rama is jnana, wisdom. Lakshmana is meditation, dhyana. The more you develop that art or whatever, vichar shakti of jnana and dhyana, the more Rama and Lakshmana emerge from your soul. Soul is the absolute Rama. But your movement must bring out, must assimilate jnana and dhyana. And bhakti joins in it. When that happens, you become Kshama Mandir, the temple of forgiveness. So Rama and Lakshmana, the mind meditates, it is so, it has enjoyed the taste of being calm and serene, and it has enjoyed the vision that all are Rama potential. So where is the room for bitterness? You may say, what will we do with people who are so terrible and things like that? Save yourself. That's a practical point. But don't hold a grudge. Try to understand their predicament. Something wrong in their brains. A worm has entered into a brain, and you should have some compassion. Save yourself, that's a different matter. But why to hold grudge in your heart? Because all those wrongdoers, they are suffering, already suffering, therefore they are wrongdoers. And more sufferings await them. So be just quiet. कही जय 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 रघुकुल केतु, भृगुपति गए बनहि तप हेतु. Lord Parashurama saying Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Glory to Rama, glory to Rama. Jaya is victory. And I have previously explained that, I will again reiterate it. Ja and Ya, these are bijaksharas, profound. Bijaksharas are like subtle root letters. Jakaro janma vichcheda. Ja relates to that which terminates the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, the word Ja comes in puja, worship. Ja comes in japa. Ja comes in jai. When glorifying a person, say Jai Ho. And Ya relates to the heart. And that's why when things are very good for you, you say yummy, 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 yum, yum. Ya. And nothing is more yummy than attaining the state where you don't have to get back to the world process. So that's the ultimate goal, that You remind everyone, Jai Ho. Rama, who is the shining symbol of the solar race, Raghukul Ketu. Raghukul Ketu also I have explained to you, it is Uttarayana process, the northern path. Soul that has attained that state to follow a northern path, which means Agnir Jyotiha, developing Vairagya, Viveka, discriminative knowledge, turning daily life into yajna, developing purity of heart, bhava shuddhi. The joy of divine love waxes in your heart like a moon. And your consciousness goes on expanding, Uttarayana, just like the northern course of the sun. Each day, that period increases. So that whole process is called Raghukul. People go through a long history, but the real meaning behind it, this is Raghukul. Once you enter, you are come to deserve that process, you belong to Raghukul. Prana jaya baru bachana na jayi. Once you are in Raghukul, you will not let your vrata, your sankalpa, your vow of attaining enlightenment, you will not dump that. You will dump your body, but not that. Then you belong to Raghukul. So, having glorified Rama as a Raghukul Ketu, the glory of Raghukul, Bhrigupati gaye banahi tapahetu, Parshuram went into his ashram and continued his tapa, life of austerity. Apabhaya kutil mahi paderane, जहाँ तहाँ कायर गवहीं पराने. Now, all those kings who had come to marry, to break the bow for Sita, and they were all angry with Rama. But now they all, seeing Parshuram, they all become like frightened rabbits. And as quickly as they could, smoothly they ran away. देवन दीन्ही दुंदुभी प्रभु पर बरसहीं फूल, हर्षे पुर नर नारी सब मिटी मोहमय शूल. Gods, now there is celebration, universal celebration. Gods started beating their drums, kettle drums. And they were showering flowers. All men and women of that Janakpur, they became relaxed. Miti mohamaya sool, the moha-based pain and misery that had that's been overcast over them, that moha-based misery. In other words, seeing all those demoniac things around them, that was a big trouble for the whole Janakpur. But now all that has moved away. Now, in mystical line, moha, as long as mind is gripped by egoistic interpretation of love, that's called moha. Moha means appears like a love. A tiger sits near a rabbit and says, I love you. Especially your neck. It's a terrible situation. Try to figure that out. Life is always the process of evolution. Your good feeling towards others needs to be more purified. And it doesn't happen in one day. As you move and become more and more geared on the path of righteousness, then your love shines, moha diminishes. The ultimate goal, you realize, God is being loved through all. Until that stage is reached, there is a role of attachment. You are dependent and you are helpless. So that type of moha moved away. Prabhu par barsa hi phool. Fool term gave me an idea to give you more about fool. From the scripture of Agni Puran, there are 8 types of flowers. Ahimsa prasamam pushpam, dvitiyam indriya nigraha. First is ahimsa, non-violence. The gods are of a showering flower, which means the divine higher nature in you is allowing you to practice ahimsa. That's the way the flower has come to you. Dvitiyam indriya nigraha. Next flower, you are not led by your senses. Senses begin to act like pets under your control. Sarva pushpam daya bhute. And another flower is compassion for all. Daya. Sarva bhut hite rata. Compassion for all living beings. When that, even a spark of that comes in you, flower has come from God. Shanti vishishyate. 4th type of flower is Shanti. Shanti, peace. Peace has many implications. You live with peace, not keeping your mind with lot of contradictory thoughts. Mind is poised. The most prominent type, live in such a way that you create harmony in your environment. And if you have impact on society, promote goodness in society. And that will happen automatically also if you have evolved and Devotion is blossoming in your heart. Even though you consciously you do not want to, you have no possibility to go after allaying the sufferings of others. But your very presence creates amazing influence on the others. And the example is all the sages and saints. Their very presence, no matter what they are, they themselves go through in their personality. Come back to a very practical level, the virtue of developing compassion. Compassion that is not limited. And that's when that is developing, God is showering flower. Next is Shama. All these virtues are related to each other. Shama means serenity of mind. The mind is not constantly fluttering. What happened yesterday? What will happen tomorrow? Thinking of gain, the mind moves this way. Thinking of pain, the mind goes that way. The joy of serenity is not experienced. That's an amazing thing until you go into yoga sadhana. And you begin to realize that when the mind is calm, you are experiencing a unique type of joy that is not depending upon anything. And that state of mind can be maintained in your practical life. Because when mind has made up itself, when mind makes up its mind, then external situations cannot disturb it. So serenity is not something that you have to sit down and practice. It becomes a natural. And then if that is happening, you are perpetually getting flowers coming from Indra. Next is tapas. Any challenging situation, if you are able to stay with patience, with endurance, and during that while you stay, be nirahar. Don't let negative food, negative intake come into your body. Then that's called tapas, austerity. Seventh is dhyan, allowing your mind to enjoy one-pointedness. And what can be one-pointed truth? God alone is the truth. So mind has only one reality before it. And that reality has no breaking of news every day. It's just absolute, unchanging, eternal. And lastly, eighth, absolute truth, satya. So if these virtues begin to enter in your personality, God is showering flowers. God's flowers shower on you. Let me recite these mantras. Ahimsa prasamam pushpam dvitiyam indriya nigraha sarva pushpam daya bhute pushpam shanti vishishyate shamaha pushpam tapaha pushpam dhyanam pushpam cha saptamam satyam chaivastamam pushpam etahi tushyati keshava etairavastabhi pushpai tushyati evarchito hari Pushpantarani satyatra vahyani manujottama. But while we described all this, even external flowers that you worship, they are urging you, they are leading you on. So that's how you begin. Begin your life with toys, you see, babies. अति गह गहे बाजने बाजे सबहि मनोहर मंगल साजे. But not only flowers blossom, but wonderful all musical instruments. Gahgane baje, tumultuous clash of so many musical instruments expressed. Putting it to profounder way to understand, first I have described the flowers. Now, what touches a human being is the spirit of melody, being in tune. Think of your personality as a veena with strings. The veena is very happy when the strings are all in good, bringing out wonderful melody. Your nervous system, your personality is joyous. But when there is discordance, then the same personality, the tongue is saying one thing, the mind is saying one thing, the intellect is saying one thing, and the body is saying another thing. You don't have the joy of divine music. But all the good instruments suddenly start clashing in a profound way. It's gahgane, gahgahe bajane baje. Youth youth mili sumukhi sunayani, karahi gaan kal kokil bayani. In a storyline. Groups of young girls with beautiful faces and beautiful eyes, they come and they are singing joyous songs like cuckoos. What they imply? Bhavana, feelings. Wonderful feelings there are within your heart. And they now emerge. And that's when that feeling enters, your face begins to shine up. So those feelings are sumukhi. Not only their faces are beautiful, the moment they enter, your face becomes beautiful. And Sunayani, their eyes, even though you have been looking at worms, etc., look at their eyes. You become joyous. Pure feeling, divine feeling, the effect of feeling changes your angle of vision. And their song is the message of spring. Kokil Bayani. Cuckoo comes. All the songs of other birds you don't hear. You hear the song of the cuckoo. And what's the song saying? That the whole mango grove is filled with blossoms. I'm joking. सुकु विदेह कर बरनि न जाई, जन्म दरिद्र मनहु निधि पाई. The joy of King Janaka cannot be described. Just like a person born in a poverty-stricken state, if he were to suddenly find a great treasure, let me explain to you philosophically. All souls that are gripped by karma, they are born a pauper. Because all that karmic-based prosperity is not real prosperity. All the glory of the world, whatever you can think of, success in business, lot of power, lot of politics, lot of this, lot of that, and the whole world is filled with history and stories of so many things. Put them all together, and it is nothing. Think of another way of thinking. Sun on one side, and put all its radiations on the other side. Every day you see lots of radiations. Sun rises, how does it rise? Rainbows, and how the clouds shimmer, and how the birds sing. Each day by day, so much comes from the sun. But all that is little compared to the sun. Karmic-based experiences is called alpam. No matter how much you gain in the world, simple point you must remember, it is a world that perishes. It's a mortality. And that's therefore, compared to the reality, truth, that never changes. So this is the point brought into statement. Sukha Videha. The King Videha is bodiless. He is a potential symbol of attaining the state of bodiless enlightenment. And it is from that source Sita, Viveka Buddhi, has been born. Sita is not ordinary princess, but intuitive intellect. And the purpose of that father is to have Sita married to Rama. Viveka Buddhi married to your soul that deserves to attain enlightenment. And therefore, that fatherly aspiration has been fulfilled. As if a pauper has found a profound treasure. Let me have some more treasure also. विगत त्रास भई सीय सुखारी, जनु विधु उदय चकोर कुमारी. Sita Devi, again storylines, Princess Sita, who has been waiting to see who breaks the Shiva's bow. Even before Shiva was to be broken, she was already in love with Rama. And then she was facing a big challenge. How can Rama, looking so tender, will break the bow? So in that suspenseful situation, and then even after he broke the bow, Parashurama created so much stir. That Sita now, when Parashurama himself bowed down to Rama and all that, that Sita has become Vigata Tras. Tras is fear. Unexpected things can happen. And that sense in your mind of constant that fear is tras, to live under that fear. But why it's called tras? Why tra comes in? As long as you are gripped by triad, seer, seen and sight, the soul is not whole. Soul is not itself. As long as you are dreaming, you go into the dream subject is not you, the dream world is not you, dream experiences are not real, but you are gripped. That's called tras. And if you are under tras, viveka buddhi cannot shine. But now, with Rama's breaking the bow, bigat tras, and viveka buddhi has no suspense about Rama's victory, no fear. And further in Tulsidas says, just like the young one of a chakora bird becomes so happy to see the moon. There is a special bird that gets fascinated by the moon and stays in the forest just relaxing with the eyes set upon the moon. And that is brought into the poetic literature in India again and again. And here what it implies now, viveka buddhi, the potentiality of intuitive knowledge that's waiting to be united with Rama, and it's now the time when she is going to be united. So, just like the young one of a chakora bird sees the moon and becomes extremely full of ecstasy, Sita is full of ecstasy. जनक कीन्ह कौशिक ही प्रणामा प्रभु प्रसाद धनु भंजऊ रामा. Coming into the storyline, King Janaka offered adorations to Vishwamitra, sage Vishwamitra, who had brought Rama and Lakshmana. And he said, by the grace of God, Sri Ramachandra has broken the bow. Rama and Lakshmana both have brought fulfillment in my heart. Mohi kriti kritya deen kinha duhu bhai, ab jo uchit so kahiye gosai. These two brothers have made me krita kritya. Krita kritya term is very important. So always, human mind has certain expectation. and you want to collect all your energies, put all your ducks together. to attain it. And by God's grace, suddenly what you are expecting comes. Or by your purushartha, whichever way, when you have attained the goal for which you have been so suspenseful and active, then you become kritkrityas. But this is a simple illustration. The highest climax kritkritya is you no longer need the world for your evolution. You have attained all that is to be attained. That's the state of liberation. But here King Janaka is expressing that word, I have become kritkritya. That Rama broke the Shiva's bow, and Sita is now going to be married. Kaha muni sunu naranath pravina, raha bivahu chapa adhina. Sage Vishwamitra said, O king, the marriage of Rama and Sita has been already accomplished because it was based on the bow. Your pledge, whoever breaks the bow will marry Sita. So marriage has been already secured. However, now first let me, Tutatahi dhanubhaya viya vivahu. The moment the bow was broken, the marriage was accomplished. Suranaranaga vidita sabakahu. And this news has become viral. Not only among human beings, here people very proudly speak of how the news goes viral, but gods don't know it. Sur nar nag, I'm joking there, but let me be more serious on it. All they're described in three stages: Sur, gods; Nar, human beings; Nag, snakes. Spirit of snakes. But to give you, without to break the suspense, Sur relates to intellect within you. When intellect begins to develop clarity, God within you is happy, gods are happy. Nar, human aspect, becomes happy when your mind becomes happy. And snake aspect becomes happy when your senses become happy. Happiness that touches intellect, mind and senses. Sur nar nag. So, the moment your soul joins with viveka buddhi, then intellect, mind, senses, manasa, vasha, karmana, your whole personality receives a special grace. तदपि जाई तुम करहु जब अब जथा वंश व्यवहारु बूझि विप्र कुल वृद्ध गुरु वेद विदित आचारु. Following the storyline, Vishwamitra says, even though it is so, marriage is no longer a problem, it's already accomplished. But continue to follow family tradition. Even when you feel that you have attained enlightenment, continue to follow your daily sadhana, speaking in a very simple way. Don't break away from your family tradition. It's again, that point comes into the mind of people again and they hear. The advanced knowledge versus ritualistic stage. Ritualistic stage is constantly described as nothing. The immature aspirants, they find it easy now. I don't have to count my mantras. I don't have to carry bala. I don't have to wake up at a certain time. No more ritualism. But that is not so. Continue. Follow the ritualistic process. At the same time, don't be confined to that level. Just like give you a different illustration which is easier to understand. If you are working in the office, your attention first went to how to set everything, your tables, your chairs, your desktop, and all things. And that attention must be given to the room day by day. But that's not the real purpose behind it. But no matter, whatever may be the evaluation, that must continue. And next, the higher function of your office is how you are using your desktop. There is no disharmony between the two, but at the same time, one is only a little basis, and that's not your reality. You are just staying, looking at the office and the comfort of your chair. You are far away from being successful. Now try to understand the role of ritual and profounder, advanced state. Both go together. So that's what Vishwamitra is giving to King Janaka. Though marriage has been already done, now Bhuji Viprakula Briddha Guru Veda Vidit Acharu. Follow family tradition guided by Brahmins, priests, guided by elderly people who are more mature with how to conduct puja, etc., and your guru. And all this in accordance with the Vedas. And with this, I'm going to conclude. The story is going very slow. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukum Bandhana Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Namah Shivaya. Okay.
If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand and we'll bring you the mic.
Gods have offered flowers of peace.
Tomorrow, come for pranayama at 7 and guided meditation at 7:30. And Sunday we'll continue with Bhagavad Gita and a delicious little feast. A week from Sunday, we'll be celebrating Guru Purnima. We'll be starting at 5 p.m. instead of 5:30, and we'll have a grand festivity celebration, Swamiji's presence in our life and his teachings. So join us for all these wonderful miracles. And now, come, if you get your prasad for Kumkum.